Hello, and thank you for joining me today. Well, this is the Monday, September 22nd edition of our video devotionals. We appreciate you being with us today and hope your Monday's going well. It is the beginning of the work week, the beginning of the school week, and guess what? It is the official beginning of fall or autumn as we know it. And that means today we've got equal amounts of daylight to equal amounts of darkness. That's kind of something that happens in the fall and in the spring. And then in the winter, there's more darkness than light, and in the summer, it's more light than darkness. And I know you didn't tune in to hear a science lesson, but I've always liked things like that, and I certainly love the changing of the leaves, the colors, getting them up. Not as not the greatest thing I like to do, but it's okay because typically it does get a little bit cooler by the time you have to get out there and rake those leaves or blow them or whatever. But all that being said, it ain't amazing we've got a God that thought about it. He could have just said, you know what, there's going to be green leaves, and all of a sudden they just fall off in a week and they just turn brown and that's it. But God in his mind says, you know what, I believe those human beings are going to enjoy the color changes. And I know some people live in areas where it's not as prominent as others, but I tell you around here, especially our mountains, now people travel for many, many, many miles to come see the color changes. And when we lived in the UP of Michigan, same thing. Man, it was just beautiful. But anyway, today is the first day of fall. So happy fall, y'all. All right, we're going to be in the book of Daniel today, chapter 1. We're going to begin about verse number, let's see here, verse number 8, I think. And then I know we're going to emphasize verse 9. And that might be all we read there because the other we can just kind of fill in. So find that, if you will, Daniel chapter 1, verses 8 and 9. Otherwise, thank you for watching. We appreciate you, appreciate comments and acknowledgments, all of that. And we appreciate you very much. All right. So Daniel here, verse number 8 says, "But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself." Of course, the story is basically here they are, they're in captivity, and there's kind of like this program to change it from a Hebrew culture to a Chaldean culture. And to do that, there was all kind of things, certainly like classroom type situations, change their culture that way, even their very diet. And that's what was at issue here, was changing the diet. And the idea behind it is that by the time they go through this diet and different things, they would stand before the king. The king would say, well, there you go. That's what I thought, where our diet and our culture makes everybody better. And look at them. This is a fine specimen of the Chaldean culture. But Daniel says, no, we trust God. And there was this man here. And let me read verse 9 if I didn't. "Now God had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs." He's the one in charge of them. And I believe in this case, obviously we usually emphasize the fact that Daniel purposed in his heart, I'm going to take my stand, and that's very, very important. But you know what? As we do those things, God also does another amazing things. Sometimes there's people around us that helps us get where God needs us to be, and it's sometimes the people you just don't expect. We expect God's people to help us along. We expect, people that are saved and family, people that know us. Sadly, sometimes they can be the stumbling blocks. And I think there's people, you understand what I'm saying, they can be the stumbling blocks. Sometimes the greatest blessings that we receive is from people you don't really expect it from. So in this case, here's the man that says, oh, Daniel, if this don't go right, then it's my head, literally, it's my life. But God worked it out that this man had so much concern. And the Bible says, I love this, that he had tender love with Daniel. That he says, you know what, I'm going to listen to. We're going to do this 10-day trial that Daniel proposed. And of course, it did turn out that God, through them just eating water and soup, basically, they looked better. They looked better, and we know that because God makes things like that happen. But the point I want to make here is thank God for people that he places within our life, and you need to look for people like this that help us along through the will of God, that people you wouldn't expect. In this case, here's just a simple unit that says, you know what, Daniel, I'm going to give you a chance here. And God used him, someone kind of unexpectedly. So think about people unexpectedly that have helped you in your life, people you didn't think would do it, and they're the ones that helped you. And what a blessing that is that God has people like that in our lives, right? We're going to stop right there. Hope you have a great day, safe day, healthy day. Hey, a beautiful first day of fall. And Lord willing, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll be right back in the book of Daniel. And thank you for watching.